Hey everybody, it's Erica from In the Company of Cards. Welcome if you're new, welcome back if you've been here before. I use Lenormand, Ramon, Lenormand. I use a 36 card deck to look at the events in our world. So, welcome. So, as promised, here I am, uh, wanting to look at a bunch of issues, obviously, not the least of which is how tomorrow will go, but I'll save that for later on. So the first thing, these are in not really any order, but um, the first thing I wanted to look at is the fact that the Second Circuit Court of Appeals has turned down you know whose petition to have his E. Jean Carroll um, award judgment thrown out. So the vote was 8-2. So he lost 8-2. Of course, typical. What that means is that the case will be kicked up to the actual big time Supreme Court. And I'm curious. Apparently, the two who voted uh, in his favor to overturn the award were one had clerked for Alito. Both were are members of the Federalist Society and diehard, whaters. So, of course they voted that way. What's great though is the fact that eight voted the other way. So I'd like to know what the Supreme Court is going to do. Will he finally have to cough up the money that he owes to E. Jean Carroll for sexual assault? Let's see. I think I'll let Spirit decide on all the cards, because why not? What will happen? What will the Supreme Court decide? No, you know what? Let's let's use the birds for the Supreme Court because they will have to, deliberate. And the birds is about deliberation, conversation, talking. So let's use birds for the Supreme Court and see what they will say. This is a brand new deck I just unboxed this morning. It's always nice to work with a brand new deck. It's got such a nice feel to it. All right, so we're looking for the birds. Tell me I did not pass it already. I think I did. There we are. Okay. So this will stand for the Supreme Court. We're looking again at the E. Jean Carroll um, monetary damage award that 47 is contesting. And the Second Circuit Appeals Court voted in her favor, 8-2. So now it goes up to the Supreme Court. So let's see what they say. Okay, I didn't pull clarifiers on everything, but I pulled clarifiers on what I thought I needed clarification on. So we have the ship, we have the stork, we have the birds, we have the child, and we have the tower. So that's our line of five. So, it looks like things move ahead. Remember that I'm the one reading the cards, so positive change uh, it would be something in Eugene Carroll's favor. We have the birds for the court. Now, this child card is interesting. Mm, followed by the tower. Um, I can mirror the tower with the ship. So, because to date, every single court that he's appealed to has said, nah, son, you have to pay that money, I suspect that this court will say the same thing. Uh, and you know how I'm going to interpret this? Yes, it's a child, and yes, a child is small, but sometimes it has nothing to do with small. Sometimes it has to do with new, something new. And I think the thing that's new is that we are going to see that Supreme Court turn against him. He'll have Alito and Thomas in his pocket, so that's the two. The rest of them, I don't know. I suspect they may go along with the liberals on the court and say, pay up, pay up. And that's new for him because he's used to getting his way with the Supreme Court. I pulled clarifiers. So this is the court, deliberating and all that. And interesting because they're not nice cards in this deliberation. We have the snake, we have the mice, we have the fox. So to whatever extent any of the justices try to side with him, it will be really apparent to the other judges that they're up to no good. You know what I mean? The snake is not good, the mice is not good, the fox here is not good. So they won't be able to win any people over to the bad guys over to the good side because the bad guys are, you know, bought and paid for, afraid to do anything but support 47. And so I suspect that it's going to be an ugly conversation. I mean, you can imagine, the women on the court saying, wait a minute. So a jury awarded her this. Every court to date has said, pay up. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals, in an 8-2 verdict, said, pay up. And Alito and Thomas, you're going to say, nah, keep your money in your pocket? How does that work? I think that the conservatives, we'll call them on the court, are going to be held to account and have to explain to their brethren and sistren judges why they think that this thing should be overturned. But it's going to look as shady as it is. So here we have child, and again, this is something new. Now we have the mountain, the book, and the bouquet. So I just want to say, in terms of the mountain, it's making me think that this will be one of the cases that gets kicked into the Supreme Court's next term. There will be a flurry of decisions that do come down between now and the end of the month. I don't know that that will be among them because of the mountain. I think the court will delay it until the next term. The next term, it doesn't, I mean, I think they have 3 months off. They've got July, August, and September off. They don't reconvene until October. It could very well be delayed until then and will be sort of up in the air until then. But I think in the end, E. Jean Carroll will get her money. Uh, last card in the line of five was the tower. And the clarifiers are the letter, the crossroads, and the heart. I do think that this award being upheld is going to affect the electorate's opinion of him, because these can be votes. And I think people will start turning away from him, wanting to go just a new way, a better way, than, the way of a 34-time felon, sexual predator. I think by then, by the fall, by October, the tide will have turned in a lot of ways against 47. And I think by then, maybe the justices will have had their summer break, and those conservative ones will start to see the lay of the land. And I think E. Jean Carroll will get her money. So good. Okay. Now, again, these are in no order. I did have a viewer ask me to look at Greenland because we saw that Hegseth during a testimony, before some House committee, he was asked, and it was a softball throw. It was a question from a Republican member who said, "So listen, I'm going to make this easy on you, Hegseth. Surely you have no designs on Greenland." Meaning, surely all of this, saber rattling about uh, taking it from Denmark, surely that was just, hot air, right? And I guess the guy thought that Hegseth would say, yeah, yeah, right. We're not thinking about Greenland. Instead, what did Hegseth say? He said, this is a quote. "We look forward to working with Greenland to ensure that it is secured from any potential threats." Last I checked, the only entity posing a threat to Greenland is the United States. So he answered that way, and the member was like, "No, no, no, you can't have meant that. Did you really mean that?" And Hegseth was like, "Yeah, that's what I meant." So the viewer asked me to look at whether or not, I guess, the question is this Hegseth just, you know, uh, strutting his stuff upon the stage? Or is it part of US policy to try to go after Greenland? So I'll let Spirit pull all the cards. Does the US have serious designs on Greenland, on owning Greenland, which, by the way, again, belongs to Denmark? Okay, so we'll just pull five and see what we get. Does the administration intend to make a play for ownership of Greenland? So we have the moon, we have the fish, we have the bouquet, we have the birds, we have the heart. So what do you think? If this were live, I had you have you put your answers in the feed. But this is one of those puffed up, chest out kind of moves. Um, and I think it's all about the fact that Greenland has natural resources, which the US would love to take advantage of. So this is money. Uh, we have the fact that there are meetings about this, about how to get Greenland and make it American. And in the center is the card that really tells the tale. the bouquet, which is to say that Greenland is the prize. And yes, this is not just Hegseth, tooting his horn. This is administration policy to gain control of Greenland. So what are you going to do? Yeah, no surprise, but there it is in Technicolor for you. Okay. Uh, so I don't know if I mentioned this the other day, but we know that Rockland County, New York, uh, there's been a suit filed because the votes, there was something wrong with the vote count in the 24 presidential election. We know that Kirsten Gillibrand, who is the senator from New York, um, got votes, but Kamala Harris did not. She got zero votes. So it has been adjudicated by a court that the case can move forward to discovery. So this is where each side will come up with their evidence for their theory of the case. So we know that the case is going to go forward. What I want to know is, will it make a difference? Now, we know it will not make a difference in terms of who the president is. Why? Because the Congress certified the election. Would that Kamala Harris and company had protested, challenged the vote, but they didn't. And, so it's not like she's going to be the president. So don't get worked up. That's not what's going to happen. But I want to know what will happen. You know, uh, Clearly there were shenanigans. Will this lead to other states filing suit and asking for formal recounts? Uh, and then what will happen as a result of that? We know that the election was stolen. We also know that a lot of people stayed home. We also know a lot of people went in the voting booth and voted a different way than they said they were going to vote. I'm just saying. But, you know, for Kamala Harris to have gotten no votes in Rockland County, that makes no sense. That makes no sense. So what will come of this? I think what I'm going to use is the letter, and it will stand for votes. And, will this go any further? Will it start to hit a wider swath of the country where there are other recounts and other conclusions drawn? Let's just see. So we're going to use the letter, and we're looking at the Rockland County, New York situation where that case looks like it's moving forward. And we want to know what will come of that and whether there will be a snowball effect. So we're looking for the letter. Okay. So this stands for votes. So we have the garden, we have the birds, we have the letter that stands for votes, we have the mountain, and then we have the star. So this looks like it will be very slow going. It already is. I mean, Um, but this is the public. These are voters. These are people meeting and recounting and doing all of that. Recounting what? Well, recounting votes. But how interesting that we have the mountain followed by the star. So in terms of any conclusive decisions arrived at, I think that will be delayed. And what it means for the future, I'm not sure, but I'm going to pull a couple of clarifiers. So let's pull a couple for the letter, the mountain, tree, I mean, the star. I feel like, in terms of the vote count and whether something was up, this is the White House, and I think that they can relax because I don't think anything is going to come of it. For one thing, we know that there will be a delay. Um, People are going to be worried about their reputations being sullied for having allowed this to happen. Crossroads is about choices. So there may be a choice to just kind of let this die an unnatural death, the whole thing. We have the star, which and stands for the future, but it stands for more than the future. And I'll tell you what that means in a minute. The tree, the dog, and the anchor. Now, to whatever degree votes were, we'll call it tampered with, we know that Starlink had something to do with it. I mean, we've as much as been told that by 47 and by Musk. So there you go, Starlink. I think in the fullness of time, which is to say, not this year, not next year, probably not the year after that, but in the fullness of time, we will figure out what happened. Lawyers are going to stay on this, but I don't, it will have no effect on anything moving forward, except insofar as um, voting machines will be, um, I know that the companies that make these machines are really trying to do their due diligence and make them less hackable. But do they even know what that means for their machines to be hackable? When we're talking about Starlink and layers and layers and layers of um, what? There are a lot of layers between, for example, Musk and the votes. So you get to one layer and you think you've got it figured out, but then you really don't. I think that, Musk is not stupid and he has protected himself very well from being discovered. Even though, they throw these little hints out. Ha 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 ha. So I'm glad that Rockland County, that case is moving forward. Other cases, other states will wait, I think, and watch to see what happens with Rockland County. If it is adjudicated that Rockland County's votes were tampered with, other states may well look into what happened in their state. But it sounds to me, or it feels to me like sound and fury, signifying nothing. I don't think that it will. I mean, I know that it won't change the outcome of the election because it was certified, even granted, certified under false pretenses, but they don't care about that part. It was certified, period. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be good to know. It'll be good to try to protect against for next time. But will there be some sort of smoking gun, silver bullet, aha announcement? I don't think so. Sorry. Wish that there were. Okay. And now what everybody wants to know about. First off, let's look at the Birthday Boys parade. The weather is supposed to be not good. I mentioned that already the other day, but I just want to see if there's been any change. So I'm going to look at the weather. Okay. Washington, D. Ooh, listen to this. Okay, it's 86 degrees there now, and there is a flood watch. Um, Flood watch conditions are expected to last until 2 a.m. on Saturday morning. So, and then speaking of, on Saturday, 90% chance of thunderstorms. So, how will this event go? I think I'm going to use the garden for the parade because that's an event and this is an outdoor event. Although I'm sure 47 and company will be in the bleachers. Um, how will it go? And I don't just mean how will the weather be, because the weather people already said it's going to be thunderstorms, 90% chance of rain. Just, how will it go? So we're going to use the garden for the parade in DC. If you're going to be protesting, do not do it in DC. I'm sure you will be harshly dealt with. Um, so this is the garden, and only one card was before it. So, and then rest will follow it. Okay. So, this was supposed to be his birthday gift, his reward, his award for, having stolen the election and being the president the second time, even though he's a 34 times convicted felon. This was his prize was going to be this military parade under the pretense of celebrating the military, which we know that's not it's going to do. This is the parade itself. So here we go. All right, but look what's in the middle. This card. Uh, you know, think of Chinese yin and yang. Yin is female. Yin is um, done to, as opposed to being the actor. The yin card is acted upon. So that's to say that he is at the mercy of the elements, weather elements, uh, and at the mercy of the fact that, he's got to pay people to be there. So this is not a great card for him to have. And then, oh dear, what do we have? We have the mice and the mountain, excuse me, at the end. I think that his parade will be a really disappointing bust for him. It will not be the Mussolini moment that he's hoping for. Um, I can mirror this, my parade, my reward, my birthday gift with the mountain. So for one thing, it could be delayed because of rain. And maybe it's so delayed, it doesn't even happen in the first place. That could happen. With these two cards at the end, they could either call it off or more likely cut it really, really short. Good. So we'll know tomorrow whether I'm wrong or right about that. I don't think the parade will be um, as big as it's planned to be, and I think that will be weather related. All right. What about the No Kings protests that are taking place all over the country? Somebody made a good point on Instagram. They were saying, why are these no King protest people asking for people to register for these events? Like register, why would you register so that your name is on in a registry? Like, why would you do that? I think it's weird. Um, Also, I've heard, on the one hand, if you see some violence taking place, the advice was to sit down where you are, put your sign down, and that way the cops can see who the agitators are. Well, if you're all sitting there in a group with your signs down, I mean, that also makes you sitting ducks. So I don't know if that's the best advice. I've heard other advice that says just walk away. If you see something violent happen, just absent yourself from the area ASAP. I don't know. You'll know what to do if you're out there. Um, I wanted to say too, I had a viewer step to me and say that I was selfish, that we need to see everybody of all colors out there and being in solidarity. Okay, and as I said to her, you can miss me with that. I deleted her comment. I did not delete her. Um, she may well have deleted herself, I don't know. But my advice is going to be the same as it has been consistently. If you're Black, maybe you don't want to be outside because we're the ones that they will come for. So anyway, but how will these No Kings protests go? There are lots of other ways if you're Black that you can support this movement. Tons. Just Google it. Um, I gave to a porta potty fund because people have to go, right? Um, I am hoping that millions and millions of people will come out. I know that they will, and I think that's great. So how will the No Kings protests go? We know that 47 and Hegseth and Noam all have itchy trigger fingers, as do some governors of some states. Florida, talking to you. Louisiana, looking at you. So be careful if you're in those states. So I have twice mentioned Kent State as something to be aware of. The National Guard, uh, a court has said that the National Guard were called out without cause. And so that's great. And this is in California. But then, of course, they ran to the appeals court, and the appeals court stayed that decision and is going to have a hearing on Tuesday. Well, by Tuesday, the weekend will be over, which is to say that tomorrow there will be National Guardsmen out and maybe Marines out. So this is really scary and dangerous. And, you know, be aware of your surroundings, wear long sleeves if you have tattoos, have phone numbers of who you can call if you get arrested. Um, if you can go with a friend to the protest, go with a friend. Don't bring your phone, bring a burner phone if you have to bring a phone. But and there are trainings, there are Zoom trainings that have been taking place. So find a Zoom training so that you know how to act at one of these protests if you were going to go. So we'll use the garden again, but this time it's going to stand for the No Kings protest that's happening all over the country tomorrow. Okay, we're looking for the garden that will stand for the nationwide No Kings protests. Okay, so this will stand for the protests. Well, these cards aren't bad. I'm going to pull some clarifiers though. Okay. So we have the stork, we have the young woman. This stands for the nationwide protests, the ring, and the young man. So let me put them all back and I'll hold them up as I need to talk about them. I like the stork. It's positive change. It's telling me that the No Kings protests will go infinitely better than his soggy military parade will go. Uh, there'll be a lot of young people out, a lot of women as well. In the center, we have the protests themselves. And, this is just sort of a continuation of protests that we've seen around the country. And it's not, this will not be the end of it. This is just, part of the cycle of protests that we're going to be seeing from now until, hmm, until they have the effect that we need them to have. And I think people are going to be courageous and brave and have found their voice and will stop being so shell-shocked by this administration and instead, you know, ready to, um, you know, take back um, the country from the one who would be king. So we have the stork, and the clarifiers are birds, house, and scales. I think that one of the things that's been really good and will make these protests go well is that been a lot of planning, a lot of organization. Um, so this is the card for planning, organization, talking, advertising, all the rest of it. Uh, and the message to the White House is, justice needs to be the watchword. And we overthrew a king 250 almost years ago. You're not it. So now here we have the young woman, and the clarifiers are clover, coffin, and crossroads. This looks a little bit problematic, where things can start out peaceful, civilized, etc., and then quickly devolve. Again, Kent State is what comes to mind. We're talking about the entire nation. We're not just looking at what's going to happen in LA or DC tomorrow. So I think that if people are harmed, I mean, this is a coffin, I'm just saying, if people are harmed, well, that will take us down an entirely new road. Kind of like, with what happened to Senator Padilla, has now taken us down a whole different road. So we have the garden that stands for the protests around the nation. And again, it's great to plan, and there have been a lot of plans put in place. But anytime you get large swaths of people together, there's an element of sort of the unknown because you know how crowds can be, right? Energy can feed on itself, and there's already um, that sort of menacing vibe of having uh, National Guard and Marines out there. So anything can happen. I'm just saying, be prepared for anything. Don't love the mice, But I also think that what will happen tomorrow and the way that it is responded, the way the crowds are responded to by the powers that be, will be one more nail in the coffin of the reputation of this administration. This is the card for reputation. It will be eroded by events that I don't know what they are, but I suspect that it's a violent response to protesters. So, yeah. Okay, we have the ring as our fourth card, and the clarifiers are the dog, star, and the tower. I think this is just really nice. Even though there may be violence, and I think it would be because troops are not trained for this kind of thing, and because the administration is trigger happy. Um, but I think that everything that happens is because we're trying to preserve the union. We're trying to make a more perfect union. We're trying to say no kings. I think people will do a good job of looking out for each other. And I think that this event tomorrow, these events tomorrow will set the course for what kind of nation we end up being, because the jury's out on that. Um, but in the future, what kind of a government we want to have. So even if things happen that are not good, in the end, they will be shining a light on the corruption of this administration, and that is all to the good. We have the young man as our fifth card, and the clarifiers are the snake, the lily, and the bouquet. I think that there will be people who will want to cause trouble, provocateurs, right? Professional provocateurs, people who instigate trouble, instigate violence. Uh, and so therefore it's really important to be peaceful. These cards I could mirror with stork. So this is a good thing that's happening tomorrow. People coming out like this, registering their uh, displeasure, we'll call it, at the current regime that we have in place. Uh, the message will have been delivered. And if there is a black eye in all of this, after tomorrow, the black eye will be on the face of the administration. So it is for them to control themselves, and I don't hold out much hope that they will be able to contain themselves. Um, remember when the first administration, when 47 was out there with his upside down Bible, and when he asked Millie if they could shoot people in the legs, and Millie, of course, said no. Well, who's going to tell him no now? So there may be some people shot in some legs. I'm just saying, don't be surprised. It doesn't mean don't go out there unless you're black, in which case don't go out there. Uh, it just means that this is a good and righteous cause that people are demonstrating for. And that case will have been made to the world. The world will see the contempt in which his people hold him. And no amount of birthday cake, no amount of birthday uh, tractors or whatever he's going to have out there, birthday, what are those things called? You know, no amount of military hardware will make a different case. He'll look like the despot that he wants to be. But the people will make the larger statement tomorrow. So that leaves me to this question. I'm just curious. Where will Humpty Dumpty be in September? So we're going to use the older man. That will stand for Humpty Dumpty. Where will he be in September? I do think there's a lot of conversation about 25th Amendmenting him or some kind of way sweetening some deal that he will, so that he will step down and go someplace and let Vance take over. And Vance is hardly the consolation prize that we would want, by the way. I mean, he's Mr. Project 2025. But where will Humpty Dumpty be in September? And we'll let that be the last question. Here he is. Okay. So we have the key, the mice, Humpty Dumpty, the garden, and then the dog. So let's see what I can mirror with each other, cards I can look at together. So, you know, what will be pivotal in September is whom he still has in his corner, who his friends still are by September. That's critical. The second card is um, the mice. So I think he will be worried. I think he'll be anxious. I think he'll be afraid. He's in the center, and I can mirror this card with the garden. He will be afraid of the people. I don't know if you saw, there was a question. Where did he do this? I don't know, but he was giving a speech or statement, whatever, and he talked about farm workers. And he talked about people who work in the hospitality industry, like people who work in hotels and restaurants and things. And he said, I'm hearing that this is really what we're doing is hurting a lot of people who, own those industries because they can't find workers. And, a lot of those workers, well, they may not be documented, but they were, really excellent workers. So we're going to have to do something about that. In other words, the very people that he has deported hold up a lot of structures in this country. Whether it's the farm industry, whether it's the leisure industry, whatever. And so 47 is hearing from his friends in high places in those industries who are not happy with what's going on. So he's now having to backtrack. Well, how do you do that? How do you deport people and undeport people at the same time? Are they going to conscript Black people and tell us that we have to work in the farms and the fields? Because we're not doing that. I'm just saying. He's really anxious. He's really worried. By September, he is afraid of the people. Uh, so wait, hold on. That's that. That's that. That's this. That's this. Okay. So the key clarifiers are the cross, the young man, and the rider. I think that this is key to his difficulties, is the fact that Um, he's caused a lot of pain for a lot of people, and they're being quite aggressive in sending the message to him that they're not happy. He is, of course, afraid of the voters, so he will quick, fast, and in a hurry do exactly what I just said. He'll try to equivocate. Well, maybe we're not going to deport everybody. So, how about if I send everybody a check for $10 with my name on it? You know what I mean? He's going to try to make it nice because he's terrified of the voters. So he's going to try to make things look like they're fair. Um, again, for appearance's sake, because here he is, and he is not going to know what to do. That's the book to burnish his reputation with the public. He's not going to understand why people hate him so much and what can he do to win the love because even the MAGA base is already turning on him. And that will only increase as the tariffs extend and as COVID and bird flu start to really hit people and as people get deported. So he's like, oh my God, they don't love me. What am I going to do? How can I burnish my reputation? So the fourth card is the garden, and the clarifiers are the lily, the bear, and the woman. He will become, in the eyes of the people, more and more doddering and old. Believe it or not, this is the card for an old man. So he will become older and more doddering, but also more aggressive. Because remember, this is the card for the narcissist. So his narcissism will be even more on display, showing him to be weak. And the fifth card is the dog, and the clarifiers are the fish, the ship, and the snake. I think that allies of his will come up with a way to offer him money to leave. Because if he doesn't leave, they will turn from friends to enemies. And then he'll really be left out in the cold. I can mirror this card, this snake, which is a problem, with the key. So by September, he will be even more afraid of the American people than he is because many more American people will have turned against him than have now to date. Some of the turning against him will come as a result of whatever happens tomorrow. I think tomorrow is really a pivotal day. But we will have more pivotal days as time goes on. And I think in the end, he will be forced out. And for a price, he'll go. Now, go where? I don't know. Cutter, you know? Uh, and I've seen that. Um, I've always said he would not last his term. And whether that's because he's in exile, whether his health gets the better of him, if you know what I mean, whether he's 25th Amendmented, I don't know. But I think by September, um, he will not be in a good place, both in his head and in his political life. So that's what I say. So listen, everybody, if you're going to be out tomorrow, outside, please be careful. Stay hydrated because it'll be hot in some of these places, right? Um, bring a burner phone, be peaceful. If there's going to be violence, let them be the purveyors of that because they won't look good in the eyes of the world. and everybody will be watching. They're not going to be watching that parade. Everybody will be watching how Americans conduct themselves in the streets. And we Black people, we will be cheering you on from home, um, supporting you as always from there. Uh, if you're Black and you decide to go outside, I am sure that you have your reasons, and I respect those. Um, you know, I wish everybody well. I think the parade will be a bust. I think that the No Kings uh, protests may be violent, and I think that the violence could easily come from um, people who've been brought in to instigate violence, so professional provocateurs, and on the part of the administration and the forces whom they have tapped to keep people in line. So just be careful, and we will all come back together once it's over. I won't be on Sundays. Uh, I know it's Father's Day, and so a lot of people will be doing other things and recovering from tomorrow, but you'll see me again early next week. So, best of luck, and I'll see you all soon. Take care.